keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Craig Stammen. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
San Diego Padres baseball coming up on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. As today the Padres take on the Miami Marlins in the second game of a 3-game series. Our starting pitching matchup today for the Marlins, right-hander Eury Perez, and for the Padres, right-hander Randy Vasquez. Hi again, everybody. Sam Levitt with you from inside our Padres Radio Network studios. First pitch coming up at 1:10 p.m. Coming up in the next 50 minutes, we have a lot to do. You'll hear from Padres manager Craig Stamen. You'll hear from Padres outfielder Jase Bowen. We check in with Jesse Agler in just a few minutes, our keys to today's game, and much, much more. But first, it's time to set the table, brought to you by Fraser Farms Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farms Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations, La Mesa Vista and Oceanside, and at FraserFarmsMarket.com. Padres enter today 51-53. They enter the day 4 games out of a wild card spot in the National League. They are 3-5 on this 10-game road trip with 2 games remaining in Miami. Marlins, meanwhile, 52-52. They enter today 3 games out of a wild card spot. Marlins have lost 10 games in a row. An 11-game losing skid would match the longest in their team history. Marlins have not lost 11 in a row since 2011, so the Marlins trying to avoid matching that kind of feat here today. We had a low-scoring affair last night in the series opener. Padres had a pinch hit hero in the late innings. Let's rewind.
Did you miss what happened in the last Padres game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind on the Padres Radio Network.
We had a 1-1 game after 4 innings last night. Padres rallied in the top of the 5th. They put runners on first and second for Manny Machado.
Machado swings, lines it into left field. That's a base hit. Bogart's rounding third on his way. A bobble by Hernandez in left will allow Cronenworth to head to third base. Manny goes up into second, and the Padres take a 2-1 lead here in the 5th.
Padres led 2-1 after 4.5 innings. Bottom half of the 5th inning, it was Heriberto Hernandez against Wandy Peralta.
The 1 pitch is stung out to deep center. Merrill going back. He will watch this one. Going to go into the tunnel over the center field wall here at Lone Depot Park. Hernandez, 14th home run of the season. A solo shot. We are tied again, 2-2 here in the 5th.
We were still tied at 2 after 5 innings. Still at a 2-2 game going to the 8th inning. Ty France led off the inning with a double against Tyler Zuber. Couple batters later, Craig Stammen pinch hit for Luis Campusano with Luis Rengifo.
And Rengifo lifts it in the air deep down the right field line. Conine is back towards the corner at the wall. This one gonna go! 2-run pinch hit, home run! Luis Rengifo has come through again, and the Padres are back ahead. It's 4-2.
Adrian Morejon pitching a scoreless 8th inning. He would go an inning and a third scoreless out of the bullpen. Padres still led 4-2 going in the 9th inning. It was time for Mason Miller.
The 3-2 pitch. Stowers swings and tips it into the catcher's mitt. Strike 3. Save number 26 for Mason Miller. Padres stitched together 6 different pitchers tonight, and they get a pinch hit 2-run homer from Luis Rengifo to win it as they take game 1 of this series in Miami 4-2.
Rengifo's second home run as a San Diego Padre, a game-deciding home run in the 8th inning as the Padres take the series opener in Miami by a final score of 4-2. And again, the Marlins losing a 10th consecutive game. As Jesse said, Padres using 6 pitchers in yesterday's game. German Marquez was taken out in the 3rd after just 37 pitches. He went 2 innings in a 3rd. Kyle Hart went 2 innings. Wandy Peralta, an inning and 2/3. Bradley Rodriguez got a couple of outs. Adrian Morejon got 4 outs, and then Mason Miller, a perfect 26 for 26 now in save opportunities. Let's go to Lone Depot Park in Miami.
Let's take a trip up to the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup with Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Jesse, let's start with the pitching situation. Entering this series, we thought that J.P. Sears would start the middle game of this series, but we find out earlier this morning it will be Randy Vasquez starting today. We'll hear from Craig Stamen in a little bit about the Padres' pitching plans and what this might look like today. Yesterday, we didn't know it was going to be a bullpen game. Ended up that way, and it sounds like Padres may have something similar here today. Your thoughts on what the Padres are trying to do, to use your word from last night, trying to sort of stitch together their pitching staff, at least on some of these days.
Yeah, it kind of feels a little bit like desperate times call for desperate measures situation. I mean, if this was a month ago, you're not doing any of this, right? You're just, trying to, as we saw, get through it with what you got, kind of feel out what you got, see what you got. And right now, I think the Padres have a sense of what they've got, and they are responding accordingly. So, yeah, I think you'll see Sears, at some point, probably fairly early on in this game. Now, look, if Randy goes out and he looks untouchable, is there a universe in which they stick with him a little bit longer than they originally anticipated? Maybe. Maybe that's a possibility. But yeah, I would say the expectation in my mind is we'll see plenty of J.P. Sears today. Now, whether that means 2 innings of J.P. Sears, 3 innings of J.P. Sears, 4 innings of J.P. Sears, that's probably dependent upon how he's pitching. And also, as Tony and I have talked about many times this year, and I'm sure you have as well, what the Padres offense is able to do. Now, Yuri Perez on the hill for the Marlins, very, very good, very, very tough. So if we are in yet another close, low-scoring game, obviously, probably less margin for J.P. Sears, probably try and get to some of those higher leverage guys a little bit sooner. But, hey, if there's a world in which the Padre offense can put up some runs early on, that certainly would help on the pitching side a lot, because that maybe allows you to stick with the Vasquez-Sears combo a little bit longer and maybe even avoid using a Morejon and a Miller at some point. But look, it's all hands on deck right now. I think, pretty early on in the game yesterday, I guess, in the third inning when Kyle Hart came on, we realized that basically from here on out, at least between now and the trade deadline, the Padres were going to manage games as if it were Game 7 of a playoff series. So that's very much the situation again here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to be fascinating to see how the Padres utilize that pitching staff today. Let's dive in on Yuri Perez a little bit more, Jesse. It's kind of been a season of two halves for him. He had sort of a rough first 10 starts, but then lately he has been really, really good. He's a very, very talented young right-hander. What can you tell us about Yuri Perez?
Yeah, he's got one of the best fastballs in baseball, not only because he averages 98, but, there's just something about his fastball that makes it really hard to hit, and not only because it's hard. So I think, anytime you're having a conversation about him, it begins with the fastball. And as you said, in his last 7 starts, he's been brilliant. Nestled in there was that game much discussed around baseball about 3 weeks ago in Sacramento. Perfect through 7 and then taken out of the game. I'm sure we'll have a conversation about that at some point. It was a big talking point around all of the major leagues. Look, the thing to know, I guess, is as well as he's been pitching, as we know by now, the Marlins have not been playing great baseball. So in his last 7 starts, he's got a 1.14 ERA. The Marlins' record in those 7 games is 4-3. And, I mean, I said this to Tony earlier. We were talking about it just sitting here a little while ago. I mean, that's criminal.
Yeah.
To have a guy have a 1 ERA over the course of 7 games and to win only 4 of those 7 games is just awful. And, that's obviously no fault of his. But, I mean, his last start is just kind of a perfect example of the way it's been going. The guy on Sunday in Milwaukee throws 6 shutout innings. They get 1 run in the game. He's up 1-0, or they're up 1-0 going to the bottom of the 9th inning, and they lost 3-1. Contreras hit a 3-run walk-off homer in the bottom of the 9th inning for the Brewers. I mean, that's just sort of the way it's been going with him on the mound. So, look, the Marlin offense has not been good. They're averaging 2.5 runs a game during this 10-game skid, and, he's really, really good. He has not been getting much run support, and that's why, as I kind of hinted at a moment ago, we might very well expect another tight, low-scoring game here today.
Yeah, and these two teams, all they play last couple of seasons are tight, low-scoring games. In fact, going back to last year, the last 7 meetings between these two teams decided by 2 runs or fewer. So who knows what kind of game we may have today in the middle game of this series. Jesse, as always, appreciate the time. We'll talk to you and Tony coming up at the top of the hour. Thanks so much.
You got it, Sam.
All right, Jesse Agler joining us on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show here on the Padres Radio Network. EcoWater SoCal, keeping it soft since 1925. Visit EcoWaterSoCal.com or call 760-350-3338. That's 760-350-3338. When we come back, we'll take our first look at the Padres lineup today. We'll hear from Craig Stammen about the pitching plans today and more. This is pretty interesting what the Padres are seemingly trying to do. Yesterday, we didn't know it would be a bullpen game. Not that you thought German Marquez was going to give you 7 innings yesterday, but I don't think we expected him to come out after 2 innings and a third where he was relatively sharp and threw just 37 pitches. And then J.P. Sears, who was good against Atlanta his last time out, well, we find out earlier today that Randy Vasquez will start today's game. Sounds like J.P. Sears will be part of the plan today. So pretty interesting what the Padres are trying to do in this very critical stretch as the Padres get ready for Game 2 of this 3-game series in Miami. Much more to do on our pregame coverage. We continue after this on the Padres Radio Network. SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch is coming up at 1:10 p.m. in Miami. Padres going for a second consecutive win, trying to hand the Marlins an 11th consecutive loss with right-hander Randy Vasquez making the start today. Take a look at the Padres lineup today, and it looks like this on this Saturday. Fernando Tatis Jr., a DH day for him. He leads leads off. Jake Cronenworth at second base batting second. Manny Machado at third base batting third. Ty France at first base batting cleanup. Jackson Merrill in center field batting fifth. Luis Rengifo, well-deserved start for him, playing left field and batting sixth. Gavin Sheets in right field batting seventh. Sander Bogarts at shortstop batting eighth. And Freddie Fermin doing the catching today and batting ninth. Once again, right-hander Eori Perez on the mound for Miami, and Randy Vasquez getting the start for the Padres. We found out late yesterday after the game that the starting pitcher for the Padres was TBD. That was after JP Sears was originally scheduled to be the starter. Then we find out this morning that it will be Randy Vasquez. So let's hear more about that as we check in with the Padre manager.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres skipper Craig Stamen. Served up by Sinley Food. If you've had better chicken, you must be a rooster.
Going with Randy Vasquez, I'm assuming that JP is still available. Is it going to be a piggyback situation today?
Yeah, we got everybody available, outside of probably Walker Buehler and Michael King. So that's, it's going to be the norm here probably going forward a little bit until we get some reinforcements or find guys that can, handle that starting role, traditional starting role.
Might it vary who starts and who piggybacks depending on the lineup, or is that going to be a little bit more set moving forward?
Yeah, that'll kind of be fluid too. We basically have, 5 or 6 of those guys that could start or come out of the bullpen and try to find that right matchup for the beginning of the game, and then, guess what kind of lineup they're going to have, and then try to line up that way.
How much of it is a little bit predetermined versus using the eye test in terms of how a guy's feeling, how he's rolling through a lineup, because you do want to try to get the matchups and at the same time maybe guys throwing well. Where's the balance on that?
Yeah, it definitely is a balance, and I don't know the correct answer to either one of those questions, but I think part of it is mapped out, and you've got to be like, hey, this is when we had him get through the lineup, this is where he's going to start, this is where the next guy's going to start, and then as the game goes, that's probably when more feel comes into play, where you're getting to your back end guys, like when you need to bring them in, who you have available to bring in, and things like that.
Yeah, and I imagine a little bit fluid also just based on the lineup that they do end up throwing at you.
Yeah, exactly, and they can change that lineup up until a little bit before game time. So we got to be ready to cover and move.
How do you go about communicating all of that with the guys who are pitching? It used to be like 6th inning, 7th inning. Now it kind of could be whenever.
Yeah, that's kind of the communication that we've given them. It could be whenever. So we try to sit them down. Me and Ruben have sat with them and said, hey, communication has to be the biggest part of this. And if you don't feel like you're being communicated to, you need to come into Craig's office, or you need to talk to Ruben one-on-one and come in every day and ask hey, what's my role today? And then we can talk about it and try to communicate it. There will be days, they know this too, that we've told them we don't really know. Could be anywhere. Could be 1 through 9 type of stuff. So that's the nature of this. Does it put guys in tough spots in that? Yes. We're asking them to do some tough things, managing the pitching staff like this.
And then the counter to that, it's a tough spot maybe, but they're also very lined up to face the lanes that they're supposed to. That might lead to the most success.
Right, and we're trying to do it that way. Is every lane going to be perfect? No. Even last night with Wandy, was that lane perfect for him? Probably not all the batters, but most of the batters. And so you just try to match it up as best you can. There will be pockets in there where we're just kind of rolling the dice a little bit, trying to bank on our pitcher, getting those hitters out, maybe if it's not a good matchup. But we've got a good pitching staff, and we think that they can handle those types of things.
Great. So running game, shutting it down become even more important with some of the rules that were in place the last couple of years to try to encourage base running. You guys have the 3rd best stealing percentage in baseball. How important has that been for you?
Yeah, we've got a couple great throwers there behind the plate. Duran, Freddie, and Campy's held his own also. So, big throw out last night by Campy. We feel really good about our catchers. They work on it quite a bit. They've been blessed to have good arms and good exchanges and things like that. But we also know, we viewed it as we've got to be able to stop it, and we've also got to be able to take advantage of it on the offensive side, and we're trying to do our best to make that an advantage for our team.
Buller Home got his 8th win this year. He's got the most wins of anybody in the bullpen over the last year. It's 21 wins. From a reliever's perspective, is that something that you're kind of proud of, or is it just a total byproduct of just trying to do your job? How does a reliever look at the wins?
Yeah, one, he's doing a really good job. He's a good pitcher, and he's pitching in meaningful games where the game is in the balance, and he's able to hold it where he needs to. There's a little bit of a vulture. I think that's a term that's been used. I was given that term at times too. When you're getting up there in that 6, 7, 8 wins out of the bullpen, but it's an endearing terminology for a reliever, and it just speaks that he's trusted in games that are in the balance, and he's someone that can get the wins, and he's gets a few losses in the process, but someone that we trust in the most critical situations.
That was Padres manager Craig Stamen earlier today inside the Padres dugout. We'll hear more from Craig during our injury report. Get the latest on Nick Pivetta and Joe Musgrove and David Morgan. So still more to come from Craig as we walk you up towards first pitch coming up at 1:10 p.m. here on the West Coast from Miami. Let's tell you who's hot, who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to step up their game? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not. Presented by ASAP Drain Guys and Plumbing, a division of Anderson Commercial, your full-service plumber serving San Diego County.
Let's begin with a look at the hot category. We've got a trio of guys in there today. Ty France hits in 11 of his last 12 games, batting .391 in that span with 6 home runs and 5 doubles, 13 RBIs in those 12 games. Luis Rengifo, the big pinch hit home run in yesterday's game. He's in the midst of his 6-game hitting streak, 10 for 21 with 2 home runs and 7 RBIs in that span. Manny Machado has 2 hits apiece in 4 of his past 5 games. Manny hitting .364 with 3 home runs in those 5 games. And finally, the not category, Gavin Sheets continues to struggle. And over yesterday, Gavin just 3 for his last 40. And that's a look at who's hot, who's not as we get ready for the middle game of this 3-game set. Now let's take you around the horn.
Let's examine the most important news and the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball. Sam Levitt takes you around the horn. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Get ready for Major League winning when you join Valley View Casino and Hotel's Players Club and receive over $200 in free instant offers. Visit valleyviewcasino.com to learn more today.
Just a couple of quick headlines for you. Juan Soto's scheduled to undergo an MRI today after he was removed from the Mets' loss to the Dodgers yesterday because of left calf soreness. The A's have reinstated first baseman Nick Kurtz from the 10-day IL. They optioned Max Muncy back to AAA Las Vegas. Kurtz landed on the injured list a couple of weeks ago for the second time in his career with a right thumb capsule sprain. On the year, Kurtz hitting .266 with 15 doubles, a triple, 20 home runs, and 66 RBIs. So the A's, who are very much in the playoff race in the American League, and Nick Kurtz is back with the A's. And just a couple of headlines for you. We'll have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard coming up in just a little bit. When we come back, we hear from Craig Stamen, Nick Pivetta, and Joe Musgrove. Get the latest on those 2 right-handers. Plus, we also hear from Padres outfielder Jase Bowen on his time in the major league so far. Much more to do on our pregame coverage. First pitch coming your way at 1:10 right here on the Padres Radio Network. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. First pitch coming up at 1:10 p.m. from Miami. We send things out to Jesse and Tony in under 25 minutes. You'll hear from Padres outfielder Jace Bowen in just a few minutes, so stay tuned for that. Our keys to the game coming your way as well. But right now, let's hear the latest on Joe Musgrove, Nick Pivetta, and more.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at BadaFulkerson.com.
Well, we told you yesterday that both Joe Musgrove and Nick Pivetta threw in a live batting practice session in Arizona yesterday. Joe Musgrove, according to the Padres, threw 23 pitches in an inning during that live BP. Nick Pivetta threw 20 pitches in an inning during that live BP, and both guys are scheduled to remain in Arizona and throw another live BP next week. Here was Craig Stamen, the latest on Joe, Nick, and also an update on David Morgan and Jason Adam as well.
I've seen, velocities and that they came out of it okay, but that's about it. As far as watching video of it, I haven't watched any video of it.
How hard did they get on the velocity?
Yeah, we're going to leave that internal. We'll figure that out when they actually get in a game, and then you'll be able to see the velocities.
Any secondary pitches?
Yeah, they threw all their pitches, so it was a very good day from what I understand.
How optimistic would you be that they could be part of the equation pitch-wise say, last 6-7 weeks of the season?
Yeah, they could be. Yeah, they're hopefully be a big part of it, and that's what we're banking on. We've definitely taken them on a road that would get them ready for the end of the season, and tried to be very strategic and put their health as the number one priority, and not just rushing back to the big leagues, but getting them healthy so that they are effective. If we get them back and they're ineffective, then it's not going to do us any good either. So we need a little bit of both, which isn't guaranteed.
Where are David Morgan and Jason Adam at in their respective rehabs?
David is throwing. He threw a bullpen yesterday. He's not pitching in rehab games yet. Hopefully that's coming relatively soon. I know he was in a game in Arizona, and then we had to pull him and give him a little rest and then get him back out there. And then Jason's still just rehabbing.
That was Craig Stamen, the latest on not only Joe and Nick, but also David Morgan and Jason Adams. So sounds like a good day overall for Pivetta and Musgrove in Arizona. As we continue to get more information on their rehab process, we will continue to pass it along. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Saturday.
Let's take a trip around the bigs to highlight the scores that matter most with our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Premium Beef Patties. Always a hit for grilling.
Well, we have one final already today, and everything else is coming up a little bit later. In fact, it's kind of an interesting day in Major League Baseball where, let me pull up the note here, 14 of the 15 games have a first pitch between 1:05 Pacific time and 4:15 Pacific time. So kind of an interesting day where we have all the games pretty much happening around the same window. Anyway, Royals beat the Tigers 3-2 already in Detroit. Salvador Perez in that game hit a home run, his 318th career home run, surpassing George Brett for the most all-time in Royals franchise history. Everything else coming up later. D-backs in Washington against the Nationals, Angels and the Giants in San Francisco. Blue Jays and the Red Sox at Fenway. Good pitching matchup there between Dylan Cease and Sonny Gray. Yankees and the Phillies in Philadelphia. Guardians visit Tampa Bay to take on the Rays. Cubs and the Pirates in Pittsburgh. Shota Imanaga against Paul Skeens in Pittsburgh today. Braves and the Orioles in Baltimore. A's and the Twins in Minnesota. Rockies and the Brewers in Milwaukee. Astros visit Chicago to take on the White Sox. Dodgers and the Mets in New York. Yoshinobu Yamamoto against Nolan McLean there. Reds and the Cardinals in St. Louis. And finally, later on today, Mariners and the Rangers in Arlington. Brian Wu against Nathan Eovaldi. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll have much more coming up in our post-game show about the scores from around Major League Baseball today. Well, certainly, Padres outfielder Jase Bowen has played a nice role on the Padres so far after getting called up from AAA El Paso for the very first time. Bowen, who signed with the Padres this past offseason, really good numbers at AAA. He has not played a ton since coming up to the major leagues. Look, sort of one of those classic scenarios, young player, first cup of coffee in the major leagues. He's serving a bench role. Once in a while, we'll start. Once in a while, we'll get a pinch hit appearance. For the most part, it's as a defensive replacement, as a pinch runner, but still, Jase Bowen, certainly a key part of this Padres team right now, coming off the bench. For the most part, Padres Spanish language radio broadcaster Pedro Gutierrez spoke with Jase Bowen inside the Padres clubhouse earlier today.
Jace, as we geared up this point of the season, just share a little bit what your experience has been to 2026 with the Padres. You know, recently you got your first RBI out of the way, you got a couple of doubles, and you're getting a little more opportunities to be productive for the Padres. Just in general, share what his first experience in MLB has been for you.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, just being in this locker room, you know, like being around these guys is really cool. You know, just learning from guys like Manny and Toddy and Ty has been, you know, instrumental in my development. Obviously, would like to be playing better, but that will come. I mean, I'm working every day to, you know, be consistent, and you know, I have full belief in myself that it will click, and just continuing to trust the Lord. And when that time happens, I'll be ready for it.
For any player that starts his journey to get to the majors, it's part of a sort of like a two-part dream. First part is make it to the majors, but once you get that out of the way, it's trying to build off a productive career. You're in that exact part where you made the first dream come true, but now you're working on that other part. Just share a little bit about what it's been like being with other players in this clubhouse, just seeing teammates that have been there, done that for many years. How good has that example been for you, knowing that what it takes, learning what it takes to make it here in the majors?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really you can do to kind of understand what it's like until you get here, and just, you know, using it as a learning curve and just being prepared. And you know, some guys have been in my shoes at one point where they were coming off the bench and kind of sharing their advice. I was talking to guys like Gavin and Ty when they're early in their careers. They were kind of in my shoes, and they just said just continue to show up every day. Like, I show up early and I get my work done and make sure I get my lifts in. I stay prepared the best that I can, and I just use every day as an opportunity to work extremely hard and you know, just continuing to try to stay ready for my next opportunity and to take advantage of it when it comes.
In the current moment the Padres are in, you seem to be a little bit baptized by fire. There's not much margin forever. The team is out to win every single possible game in contention. How's that factor been in your development as you shared right now, knowing that the margin for is slim, yet every time you're on the field, team has to contribute?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the expectation every day, is to win every single game. You know, we have you know, a great front office, a great coaching staff, a great team, and, you know, a great fan base that expects wins. And I think that in order to do that, you got to go out there and, you know, be productive. And when your number is called, to show up and do it, especially in the outfield. Like, that's kind of where I'm at right now, is go up, make a play, make sure a run doesn't score, and, you know, pass it on to the offense. And when I am in the lineup, and kind of do my job to get on base and, you know, steal bases, score runs, and kind of do whatever I can to, you know, at the end of the game, have more runs than the team.
It's in baseball. It's a game of adjustments. What has been the biggest adjustment for you, having that path in the minors, but now obviously graduating to the majors? What has been the biggest adjustment you've seen so far from one level to the other?
Yeah, I think it's not playing every day. In the minor leagues, you're used to playing every day, and you know, kind of working through things with, you know, through at-bats. And, you know, now, like, you have to, when you do get your at-bats, you got to make sure they're productive, and just trying to stay calm and relaxed in situations, not trying to do too much, and realize that, hey, like, you know, I'm in a tough role, and that's what you want in the big leagues. Every role is tough, and but the best part is I'm in the big leagues, and, you know, it's awesome just being around these guys and learning. You know, I've learned so many things. I have some things I need to work on in the off season, and just continue to show every day with a great mentality, be a great teammate, and just stay ready for these wins.
Finally, they say no man is an island, so it takes a village, get success. Every single part of the roster has to play a role in the upcoming 2 months of the season. Just how do you view entirely the work that the team has to put in to make the season a successful season?
Yeah, I think every single person in this team is working their butt off right now. We want to win a World Series. It's plain and simple. I think our pitching is working hard, our hitters are working hard, our bullpen's working hard. So I think everybody on this team has the same goal, and we have each other's backs 100%. We lose together, we win together, and we truly believe in the squad and that we're going to do special things come October.
That was Jace Bowen coming off the Padres bench today. Nice interview from Jace there, talking about his role and also some of the challenges that come with being a young player and being asked to come off the bench. It really is something we don't talk about a ton, but you have, guys from AAA come up and they're so used to playing every day in the minor leagues their entire career, and then they come up to the major leagues, and not only are they asked to perform at the major league level, but they're also being asked in many cases to do something they don't do in the minor leagues, which is, go 4, 5, 6 days without playing, without getting an at bat. So not an easy role for a young player, but good answers there by Jase Bowen. Nice job by Padres Spanish language radio broadcaster Pedro Gutierrez inside the Padres clubhouse earlier today. First pitch coming up at 1:10 in Miami. Let's give you our keys to today's game.
How will the Padres unlock a win today? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Rock and Block Turf and Hardscapes. Beautiful artificial turf that stays green all year long. Trust and experience. The job isn't done until it's done right. See them at rockandblocklandscape.com.
All right, a very Marlin-focused keys to the game. Key number one, and this was key number one yesterday, it'll remain that way today. Capitalize on a struggling Miami offense. Marlins are averaging 2.5 runs per game. They're hitting 157 with runners in scoring position during this 10-game losing streak, and they've got a couple of really important hitters really struggling. Their leadoff man, Otto Lopez, who's hitting .330 on the season, well, he's hitting only 156 during the losing streak, 8 games during the losing streak. Kyle Stowers, who has 12 home runs, he's hitting 132 with 17 strikeouts during the losing streak. So don't let those two guys at the top of the Marlins order heat up, and in general, don't let this Miami offense get it going. It has been rough for the Marlins bats as of late. Key number 2, we focus on the number 3 hitter in the lineup. That is Heriberto Hernandez. Halt, Heriberto Hernandez, 9 for 21 with 4 extra base hits, a home run, and a 5-game hitting streak. Had the home run to tie the game at 2 yesterday. Can the Padres limit Hernandez today? And key number 3, let's stay on the Marlins lineup. This is going to be a little bit different because we just focused on the top 3 hitters, but I want you to circle the number 8 and number 9 hitters in their lineup today. Estory Ruiz and Jacob Marcy, both of whom, by the way, have Padres ties. Ruiz is hitting .241, batting 8th. Marcy is hitting .194, batting 9th. So you might say, Sam, why are we going to focus on these guys? Here's why. Ruiz is 22 stolen bases. Marcy is 19. My point is, you let those guys get on base, they can run, and then you set up RBI opportunities potentially for the top of the Marlin order. So keep an eye on those two guys. Yeah, they're not having great years, but they can really, really, really run. Gotta find a way to prevent those speedy guys at the bottom of the Miami lineup from getting on base. And that's a look at our keys to today's game. When we come back, we'll dive deeper into today's starting pitching matchup. Much, much more to do as we get you ready for first pitch coming up at 1:10 in Miami on the Padres Radio Network. Padres baseball coming up here on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. We sent things out to Jesse and Tony in just about 7 minutes. They're coming your way from Lone Depot Park in Miami as the Padres go for a second consecutive win against the Miami Marlins. We'll talk about today's pitching situation in just a moment, but right now let's tell you what to watch for in the middle game of this series.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovements.com.
Well, we talked about Ty France a little bit earlier during Who's Hot, Who's Not, and he has been so good for the Padres lately and throughout this season. Let's focus a little bit more on Ty France right now. What kind of impact will Ty France have on this game? Because I think deservedly so, he deserves, some more attention right now. Ty France has hit safely in 11 of his last 12 games. He's hitting .391 with 5 doubles, 6 home runs, 13 RBIs, and 9 runs scored in those 12 games. In the 12 games, 11 of his 18 hits have gone for extra bases. How about this? Since June 19th, Ty France ranks tied for 4th in extra base hits, tied for 4th in home runs, and tied for 8th in RBIs in Major League Baseball. And by the way, beyond the offense, have you seen this guy play defense at first base? He's tremendous. He also leads all first basemen in the major leagues with 10 defensive runs saved and 6 outs above average. He has been, by the metrics, arguably the best defensive first baseman in the game this year. So Ty France having a great year. He's on a great run right now. What kind of impact on both sides of the ball will Ty France have in Game 2 of this 3-game set? Let's talk about today's starting pitching matchup.
Let's break down how today's starters are shaping up with our starting pitching preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Let's begin with Marlin right-hander Eury Perez, 23 years old, 5-7, a 3.53 ERA in 17 starts this season, 91 2/3 innings, 104 strikeouts, 37 walks. Perez is 3-1 with a 1.14 ERA in his last 7 starts. He's been terrific as of late. Now, he didn't get off to a great start this season, but the second half of the year so far, he's been really good. Perez threw 6 scoreless innings while allowing 1 hit and striking out 9 on Sunday against the Brewers. He is usually very good early in games, but if you're going to get him, it's usually as the game gets later. Perez has a 1.94 ERA through the first 3 innings this season, a 5.5 ERA after that. He did face the Padres last July when 5 innings, 2 runs given up on 5 hits. Meanwhile, starting today's game for the Padres, right-hander Randy Vasquez. The 27-year-old is 6-6 with a 4.72 ERA in 19 outings this season. He appeared on Wednesday in Atlanta. It didn't go particularly well, allowed 4 hits in just 2/3 of an inning. He has a near 8 ERA in 27+ innings since the beginning of June. We also do expect that left-hander JP Sears will appear in this game as a bulk innings guy at some point. 30 years old, Sears 2-3, a 4.38 ERA in 5 starts this season, 24 2/3 innings. His last start in Atlanta, he was good. 5 innings, 2 runs given up, 1 earned on 3 hits. And he's also been very good against Miami in his career. 2 career starts against the Fish. He's got a 1.42 ERA in 12+ innings. And that's a look at the pitching scenarios today. Eury Perez on the mound for the Marlins. Randy Vasquez at least opening today's game for the Padres. And again, we do expect in all likelihood that JP Sears will have some sort of role in this game as well. As always, we appreciate you tuning in to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show right here on 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. While the Padres enter today 4 games out of a wild card spot in the National League, the Marlins 3 games out of a playoff spot. Padres trying to win a 2nd in a row. Marlins trying to avoid an 11th consecutive loss. When we return, we send things out to South Beach. It's Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr. standing by, ready to go. They'll have the full starting lineups, first pitch, and all the play-by-play. I'll talk to you on our post-game coverage. You're listening to your home for San Diego Padres baseball, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Enjoy the game, everybody.